Deion Sanders is looking to build a dynasty in Boulder, and he has two players in Sheduer Sanders and Travis Hunter that could get that thing going.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you may get your podcast. So thank you for making me your listen of the day. Sorry we didn't have an episode the past couple of days. A little under the weather, but now I'm back and I'm ready to go. And we're talking about potential Colorado dynasty. Now you're probably thinking, that's absurd. They haven't won more than 5 games. And you're absolutely correct. But Sheduer Sanders and Travis Hunter could set Colorado on the right path for years to come with their success this next season. So let me break it down. There's 3 main reasons why I think this Colorado program could be headed into dynastic situations under Coach Prime if these two guys ball out. Now, for starters, you look at the NIL factor, and realistically, let me just give you the main picture. Colorado needs talented players, and talented players want 3 things. They want NIL money. They want to go to the NFL, and they want to win football games. These two can kind of accomplish all 3 of those things for Colorado within the next year or so. They've already kind of shown that Colorado could be the focal point of the NIL world. Sheduer Sanders ranks number 2 according to On3 NIL's valuation, trailing only Bronny James in terms of their valuations, and so he's valued at $4.7 million. And then you go down a couple spots, and Travis Hunter is there at number 5, and he's valued at $2.3 million. So that shows athletes that you go to Colorado, you play well, you're a star for playing for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, you will rake in the dough. You will get those NIL deals, which is a big part of college football. And until there are rules, you could do it however you want. You could get as much NIL deals, as much money, as much whatever, as much as you want. And Coach Prime has already said that Colorado is not like a pay-for-play, which nobody is, but wink, wink, nobody is, wink, wink. But he said, you don't come to Colorado and just get paid for coming to Colorado. He goes, you come to Colorado to get paid. And that's exactly what these guys are showing that you could do. Shedeur is showing that you play quarterback at the highest level at a Power 5 program like Colorado, you will get paid. Travis is showing, I'm a 2-way star. I'm one of the best players in the country. You will get paid in Boulder. And I think a lot of people have a misconception there. Also, top draft picks. Everyone wants to go to the NFL. Realistically, I would say you look at every college roster and there's 100-ish guys. I would say 65 to 70 of them, maybe 80 of them, or 75 of them. We'll go 75. We'll call it an even 75. 75 of them think they're going to the NFL. Well, that's probably not true for 90% of them, as only a handful of guys each year go to the NFL for teams, unless you're a special team. Colorado is showing that they could produce picks. Next season, for his senior year, Travis Hunter returns for his junior, which he had to anyway. And these two are both projected as possible top 10 picks and possible number 1 and number 2 picks. That would be, or even if they go 3-7 or 4-10, that's insane. Not many programs are producing multiple top 10 picks at the same time. And that would be another thing where I think the biggest question for Colorado right now are they going to win games, and is there pro potential after that? Coach Prime has already put guys in the NFL. He's had a couple guys at Jackson State get NFL opportunities. Xavier Weaver is going to have an NFL opportunity after this season, and he's going to show next year that he can produce top 10 talent, and that's huge for the program. And Sheduer Sanders and Travis Hunter, they just are top 20 picks. And then on-field success. This is the one thing where Colorado hasn't done it yet. I think if Shedeur went into the draft this year, he'd probably be in the first round. Travis Hunter would probably be a top 10 pick if he went this year as well. But next season, they have a much better chance of both going in the top 10, which is huge for the program. That's why I'm calling it the year of Shedeur and Travis, because all the success they have will help Colorado down the line. And now the most important success that they can have isn't individual. The other 2 things are individual. This is team-oriented. They win games, they contend for the Big 12, or they even win, or if they make it to a bowl game, I think they will make it to a bowl game. They do that And Colorado is now in a new stratosphere of a program, because I think a lot of people right now are like, okay, we've seen Coach Prime attract attention. We've seen him attract some top talent, but we haven't seen him win games at Colorado yet, which, I mean, it's only been 1 year. They had a tough schedule. They had not a horrible roster. They had a very flawed roster. They had a flawed offense coordinator system. They had a flawed offense, and they had a flawed defense. It's tough to win games that way. They are trying to fix those things and fix this whole apparatus. And guess what? Shedeur and Travis will be the main reasons, or two of the main reasons, that they are winning games next season. They'll both be in positions to help this team succeed. I think Travis is kind of being set up to not have to play as much offense, but I still think he will dominate on offense when needed. And I think Shedeur is set up to be, at worst, a top 4 quarterback in college football. I think he realistically, between him, Carson Beck, and maybe, who else am I thinking? Jalen Milroe or Dylan Gabriel, Quinn Ewers. I think he is among that top tier. No Fafita as well up there. I think Sheduer Sanders is probably the best quarterback in college football, realistically, or at worst, a top 4 quarterback. These guys help Colorado win games, and they're completing the holy trinity for this program, because they're showing, hey, you come here, even though it's not LA, even though it's not Austin, Texas, or it's not Ohio State, you come here, you will get NIL money if you play well. You come here, you will have a chance to go to the NFL, and everybody wants to go to the NFL. So that's kind of the main goal. I think a lot of people are forgetting that the main goal of college football is to get you to the NFL. I think a lot of it has changed into, oh, I want to make some money before I get there. But the main goal is to make it to the NFL. That NFL money will forever be more than NIL money for 99.9% of the athletes. And then they want to win games. And these two can help Colorado set them up to win those games. And in the future, if they win competing for the Big 12, if they're in the mix, say they win 8 games next season, that makes recruiting a lot easier for Coach Prime. I think right now he has a vision. Well, as soon as they win games, it's no longer a vision. He's selling them what is, and I think what is the absolute. And I think a lot of people aren't realizing that. Like, they're like, oh, he only won 4 games, and it's like, as soon as he wins 6, 7, 8 games, people are going to be talking to Colorado, and there are via transfer portal. Recruits will be very interested. Recruits have already told me they're very interested in what Colorado is doing in the future. They want to see them win. They're like, okay, I'm interested in the program, but I want to see the on-field product. That's what I've been told multiple times to recruits, the recruiting analysts, everyone. They want to see Colorado win games before, because obviously it's a little scary still. And these two guys could really lead Colorado to a generational, I want to say season, because I don't know if they're going to be able to peak of college football by next year, but next year sets them up for years to come, assuming that everybody stays in place in Colorado, assuming all their new additions work out. But it's one of those things where Colorado, I mean, if they perform that they need, everyone look out. You thought Colorado was popular now before they blew up? Wait till they start winning games. Chance to kind of turn that around and kind of maximize their opportunities, make it optimal for Deion Sanders and the Buffs moving forward. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100 with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Some of the things that I like about Game Time so much, well, for starters, you could get last-minute tickets. You get to see where you're sitting. You click on your seat that you think would be good, and all of a sudden you're seeing like your little view, and it's perfect because you don't want to be surprised by a random pole or like a weird angle where you won't be able to see the whole field. They have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection. See the view from your seat before you buy, so exactly what to expect when you arrive. Game Time right for the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code VEGAS100, the number, for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you darn well please to get your podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen. Like I said, we're talking about Sheduer Sanders and Sean Lewis. I didn't get a chance to talk about this because I'm a little under the weather, but now I'm back. I'm here, and we're talking about what Sheduer said about Sean Lewis's offense. And I think this is the biggest insight we've gotten as to what kind of, not want to say what went wrong, but one of the biggest issues that Sean Lewis ran into, or what this Colorado program ran into with Sean Lewis. Now, for starters, this isn't to excuse his inability to kind of get creative for the run game. This doesn't excuse his inability to kind of protection, put in more tight ends, figure out ways to get the ball out quicker. Especially when you hear what Sheduer says, it's like that makes him hold the ball longer, which is dangerous. It also doesn't excuse the roster that Sean Lewis inherited. I think it goes both ways. I think Sean Lewis had great moments. I think he had some poor moments, and I think at times he made do what he had. He made this offense look really good, and obviously Sheduer Sanders helped that a lot. But but I don't think he was really given Sheduer Sanders the best chance to succeed, which in a way is kind of crazy because Sheduer was breaking program records and threw for like 27 touchdowns, 3 picks. So he was doing quite all right. But in a great interview with DNVR, those guys over there, Jake and Ryan, Sheduer talking the issues he had. Excuse me. The issues he had with Sean Lewis's offense. Now, it was one of those things where he kind of, it was very professional. It wasn't like, oh, that guy didn't know what he was doing, and this guy just wasn't a good coach. This offense wasn't good. It was more so the offense put Sheduer in a tricky situation. So the way Sheduer explained it was that Lewis's style of offense featured a lot of choice routes for the receivers. So if you're not familiar with the choice route, I would draw a little diagram on here, but basically the receiver is reading the defense and picking what they think is the best route for them at that time. So if they get a certain look from the defensive back, they're going to run this route. If they get a look that prevents that route, Sanders isn't really anticipating what the defense is doing. He's trying to anticipate what his receivers are doing, because obviously when you have choice routes, it takes the, I want to say, it takes the not the communication, but it's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen, because obviously you have to depend on that receiver to make the right decision. So Sheduer may think that this route's coming, but another route may come the other way. Anyway, he said there was a lot of choice routes, and it made it difficult for him to anticipate things, and it also forced him to hold on to the ball longer. And obviously, as we know, he was behind the worst offense line in the Power 5, maybe in college football. Will start this next season. Maybe one of them will. Savion Washington, he could return and start next season, but the rest of them, they transferred or they will be backups, which is, it's how it pans out. It's how it works out. But I thought it was interesting because realistically, it was like we knew there was a disconnect, not maybe between Sheduer and Sean Lewis, but there was definitely a disconnect between Sean Lewis and Coach Prime. We saw that obviously when he was demoted. Sean Lewis was viewed as one of the best hires of the offseason. I think by week 2 or 3, whenever Mel Tucker was fired, Sean Lewis was a top candidate for Michigan State. Everyone was like, okay, this guy has those northeast, or that's not really northwest, we'll call it Midwest-ish vibes, Midwest-ish roots. He spent time in Ohio. He knows the area. I think he's from Illinois or a state over there. Regardless, Sean Lewis was viewed as, he's from Illinois. So he had roots over there. He kind of knew the area. So it was like, okay, Sean Lewis to Michigan State is just making too much sense. And then once Colorado started struggling, it was like there was minimal adjustments the offense made. Now, obviously, I don't know what adjustments could have been made. It's easier said than done. It's easier to judge from the outside looking in, because I wasn't the one trying to draw plays with the offense line that couldn't block for more than 1 second. I wasn't the one trying to figure out how to utilize tight ends to block when you didn't have a tight end on the roster. You had Mikey Harrison, who's a walk-on receiver that got moved to tight end out of necessity. And it's like, okay, I don't know like how to combat all that, because that's not my job to. And I'm not sure Sean Lewis was completely, he probably felt limited. We'll just put it that way. He felt limited by what he had, but he also, I don't think, put in I won't say put in the effort, but I just think there was a lot of things that could have gone either way where it was like he could have done this differently to try something new. But for Shedeur to say this, it shows that Colorado was limited by itself. It shows that Colorado's offense was in a way flawed. And there was no way to escape the flaws because obviously Sean Lewis's offense, if it has the proper protections, if it has the proper skill position players and all that, which have the skill position players and have the proper protection, it will work. And even if it doesn't, when you're back as good as Sheduer Sanders, it will work. But he didn't adjust well enough. And clearly, Shedeur felt that the offense took too much out of his hands in a way. He said it took put a lot of pressure on the receivers to make the right reads. Whereas most cases, quarterbacks want to be the ones where it's like, okay, I want to see what that defensive back is doing, and then I will tell the receiver what to do. Not the receiver is being like, okay, I'm going to make this split decision this fast, and then my quarterback is going to have to anticipate what I'm doing as well as the defense. So I thought that was a great insight. I also think if you're Pat Shurmur, I won't say you eliminate choice routes, but what you do to help Sheduer Sanders succeed is get him a run game, which obviously they have a better offensive line and they have running backs, a stable running backs that should be better. So get him a run game, more balanced offense. It should help out. Put the game in Shedeur's hands. He's obviously one of the smartest quarterbacks in college football. He's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Let him lead your team. I don't think that's too hot of a take, and just put him in position to succeed. I don't want to say Sean Lewis didn't put him in position to succeed all the time, but there were certainly moments where things could have gone differently. And I think by him saying that, we kind of learned not what was Sean Lewis's flaw, but what the issue or the disconnect was between the two. Because realistically, they had good moments, but I think once teams kind of started to figure them out and figure out the offense, it was a little more difficult to get things going. But things fall. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Coach Prime's. He continues to innovate and continues to change college football. First, a word from our sponsors over at FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you may get your podcast. We're talking about the spring game because I think a lot of people are probably like, who cares about the Colorado spring game? Well, for one, I went last season. I was in the press box, met a lot of great people there. It was honestly the craziest spring game I've been to a couple, and that one was like, it was sold out. It was snowing. It was freezing cold. Obviously it's a spring game, so it's like doesn't matter. But that was like the first time we got to see Sheduer Sanders. That was the first time we got to see Travis Hunter. That was the first time we got to see Coach Prime coaching at the Power 5 level. So I was excited. There was like 50,000 fans, but he changed his format, and so the spring game will now have it's called Prime Weekend. So let's dive into it. The Colorado game is but he sat down with an interview with Lil Wayne. So this is where he announced it on Young Money Radio and said they will be ditching the kind of program does, which is a scrimmage, and kind of do something different. He says, we're going to have a fashion show on Thursday. It's going to be a whole like week event. It's not just going to be like, okay, we're going to show up, play a scrimmage game that doesn't really matter, and then we'll see you guys in August, or we'll see you guys in September, whenever their first game is. I think it's an early week, September. He says, we are going to have a fashion show, something for the boosters on Friday, then the game on Saturday. We're doing an after party, and they're going to have a white, black, and a Hispanic J. We're going to cover everybody. Then after the game, we're doing something with the alumni. So it's everybody involved, and it kind of makes it more of an event for everybody rather than just like a quick one deal or a quick one-off thing. And then he also said there's going to be musical guests. He said maybe at halftime of the game, right at the end of the game on the rooftop, which is like off to the this section or the opposite section of the field. If you're looking behind me, off in the corner, which that would be really cool. He said we may cut into the game so that could be seen with millions of viewers. So they're going to have like a concert mid mid-spring game. So I really like these ideas. I think by him doing this, he's boosting Colorado's brand, and he's boosting, I don't want to say like I was going to go with a certain word and appeal, but he's boosting their je ne sais quoi, their fanciness, their kind of uniqueness to recruits and everyone involved, to fans. He's bringing in attention. He's bringing in buzz, and that's what people want. Colorado was the only program last season to have their spring game televised on ESPN, and Coach Prime is making sure that they continue to keep that attention. That's stupid to have all this jazz here and all that jazz there. Like, what is the point of this? The point is to get eyes on your program. The point is to make recruits be like, wow, that is really cool. Because Colorado had a ton of recruits at their spring game last year. I think they had like 20-something recruits, top talent there. And you don't want to miss out on an easy opportunity for guys to kind of see how unique your program could be. It attracts top talent, makes Colorado look cool, which Colorado continues to be cool for guys. It's going to be a really interesting event. I can't wait to go. I hope to see you guys there. We'll talk about that once it gets closer. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs and making me your first listen of the day. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, give me 5 stars. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. Give me 5 stars on Spotify, Apple. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a great Wednesday.